Good morning, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. It is a Sunday here in Southwest Michigan. I am waking up to another day in the hermit hut, in my cell, in our house here in the American wasteland, the last days of the American Empire. It is 9:37 in the morning. It is December the 22nd. Yesterday was the first official day of winter. Even outside, as I look through the windows around our house, it's snow on the ground and it's 20 degrees. It's even colder than that. So we might get snow today. So yeah, it's 9:38 in the morning. It's a Sunday. It's December the 22nd. Writing in my paper diary. I'm on page 1071 this morning. Pretty soon on January the 1st, 2025, if I'm not dead and the Lord has not come, we'll be on page 1. Yeah, I always wonder when will be the last day or the last page I'll write. So in this video, I haven't really done a used book haul in a while. And as I've mentioned over the years, I don't like traveling in bad weather. And I don't like going out if it's raining or snowing or icy. And also I've been kind of I find it difficult to leave the house at times. Now I did go to thrift stores. That's what this video is. I don't know, it was last week or the week before. I had to leave the house. I know what it was. I had to go pick up coffee beans, and I mentioned that and my wife got me a new little coffee thing. It keeps it hot. She got this me for Christmas. So yeah, I had to get coffee beans. And as I mentioned in one of my recent videos, right a block down is Action House, which is a thrift store. And I go there to look at their used books. So then I went there, and then I drove up several blocks to Goodwill thrift store, and these are the used books I found, to make a long story short. But Action House is only about 2 blocks down. Goodwill is about 4 blocks down. So I can navigate that kind of area. And I think it was not snowing that day, and the streets were dry. And I did a couple of weeks ago, I did go down to the new Book Nook at the library, our local library used bookstore, just to look around. And I did find I found 2 books, and I'll show those first. No, there's 3 books, and I'll show those, and then I'll show you the books I got at Action House and thrift store and Goodwill thrift store. Now, all the money made in these stores goes to help the poor, the disadvantaged, the homeless, people who need food or people who need something. These are ministries. Now, I don't know if Goodwill is Christian. I know Salvation Army is Christian. Goodwill, I don't know what it's about. Action House not only has a thrift store, it has a grocery store for poor people to shop at. It provides other services to those who are disadvantaged or need assistance or something. So this is a used book haul. And this morning when I'm reading for devotions, I mentioned the classics of Western spirituality. Over the years, I was reading the Carthusian one, And I thought I'd show you the first volume I bought in the series of classic Western spirituality. And there's a story behind it, but it'd take too long. And this is the one. This was the first one I bought way back when we lived in Houston, Texas, and I was doing my minister internship. And I bought this at a Catholic bookstore in downtown Houston. And I mentioned I used to go there, and I would buy these when I was in the store. And this one came out. This is John Arndt, True Christianity. Albert Schweitzer has called Johann Arndt the, quote, prophet of the interior Protestantism. This great German Lutheran mystic and follower of Melanchthon aroused Calvinist hostility by his spirituality of Christ in the heart of man. He was deposed as a pastor of Baborn for refusing to abide by the orders of the Calvinist Duke, inspired by Bernardo Clairvaux, Angela of Falaio, John Tuller, and Thomas à Kempis. He later came to be venerated by the Pietists. So this is the first one, and I got it out, and I've been reading this last couple of days. You can see I think maybe this was a used copy. I don't know. I never used to. I might have bought this at a used. I don't know. Now I wonder where I got this. I don't usually. Maybe I did. I don't know. It says I bought it. Maybe I did buy it used somewhere there in Houston. I know I had it when I was in Houston. But now my mind is playing tricks on me. Anyway, I'm going to show you the used book. I bought this at the new Book Nook Library Used Bookstore, America Fantastica. This is a novel by Tim O'Brien. I collect Tim O'Brien. That's why I bought this. I have not read it. I have almost all of his writings that I know of. So this is what I didn't have. I got this at the Book Nook. And then I went there. I showed you the books I got on Bob Dylan at the Book Nook. I think I've shown those. I got 2 books on Bob Dylan. I think I showed those. But then I went, and then I got this at the Book Nook. I don't think I've shown this one. The Shadow of Youth, The Remarkable Journey of the Civil Rights Generation by Andrew B. Lewis. I collect books on the civil rights movement, and I got this at the Book Nook. And then I collect books on photographers, early photography, and they had this one at the Book Nook, and I had a biography. This is on Bernice Abbot, Changing New York, the complete. This is from the complete WPA project. This during the Depression, there was this. What you might call it. It was what was the WP? It was called the Workers' Project or Art, something like that. And she worked in that, and she took all these. The Federal Art Project. It says, in January of 1929, after 8 years in Europe, 30-year-old Bernice Abbot returned to the United States for what was planned as a short visit. When she arrived, she was seized by a fantastic passion to photograph New York City. a passion she pursued against great odds for the next decade. The resulting Changing New York project, funded by the Federal Art Project, sponsored by the Museum of the City of New York, contains 35 photographs supported by historical data compiled by her staff researchers. So this is what this is. It's all these photographs of New York City back in the 1930s during the Depression. And since I had a biography of her, I bought this of her photographs. Okay, those are the books I got at the book nook. Now these I got, I think, at either Action House or Goodwill. And as you know, I'm a student of American history, church history, political history, literary history. Anyway, I found this at, I think I got these at Action House. The Long Road to Antietam, How the Civil War Became a Revolution by Richard Slotkin. Yeah, I don't really, I'm not a Civil War buff, but I did buy this because it was only like, 80 cents. And I do collect some books on the Civil War, but this one looked interesting, so I bought that. I think I got this. There was a bunch of history books, I think, at Action House. I have books on Andrew Jackson, and this is Andrew Jackson and the Indian Wars by Robert V. Remini. So, yeah, our son Josiah, when he was at Calvin College, and I inherited some of his books, he had a lot of books on Andrew Jackson, and so I kept them because I collect on certain presidents. So I got this. I collect books on the 60s, hippies, radicals, eccentrics, artists, poets. And this is Witness to the Revolution, Radicals, Registers, Vets, like veteran, vets, people no longer in the military, vets, hippies, The Year America Lost Its Mind and Found Its Soul by Clara, Bingham. I think this is on, it says here, as the 1960s drew to a close, the United States was coming apart at the seams. From August 1969 to August 1970, the nation witnessed 9,000 protests, 84 acts of arson or bombings at schools across the country. It was the year of my Lao massacre investigation, the Cambodian invasion, Woodstock, the moratorium to end the war. The American death toll in Vietnam was approaching 50,000, and the ascendant counterculture was challenging nearly aspects of American society. Witness to the Revolution, Clara Bringham's unique oral history of the tumultuous time unveils anew that moment when America careened to the brink of a civil war at home as it fought along a feudal war abroad. So I got this. Yeah, I collect books on this time period. 1969, 68, I was in high school. 1970, I graduated from high school and became a Christian there in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was in the anti-war movement. I did apply for conscious objector. I wasn't going to go fight the war in the Vietnam conflict, but my number never was called up and the war came to an end. I found this, I think, at Goodwill or Action House. It's, I can't pronounce it. He's a poet. He was born in 1922 in Barcelona. He wrote novels, poetry, social and cultural criticism. He was murdered in 1975 in Ostia near Rome. He was an Italian filmmaker, but was first and foremost a poet, the most important civil poet according to Alberto Remini in Italy in the second half of the century. I noticed this was published by City Lights Books in San Francisco, and that's why I got it. I collect City Lights books in San Francisco. I found this at Goodwill. It's called Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David Neal. This is on Tibetan Buddhism, and I collect books on Tibetan Buddhism because of the counterculture 60s. The beatniks were, and the beat generation was into Tibetan Buddhism. And I don't know, it looked interesting. I don't know anything about magic and mystery in Tibet, and so I got it. This is another book on the Vietnam conflict, the secret war against Hanoi, the untold story of spies, saboteurs, and covert warriors in North Vietnam by Richard H. Solch Jr. Well, you know, if you get books on the 60s, a big part of the 60s, like in the end of the 60s, was the Vietnam conflict. And it was a part of my growing up. Here's another book by Andro Linklater, Measuring America, How the United States Was Shaped by the Greatest Land Sale in History. This is the story of how the Founding Fathers gave birth to land ownership in America. In 1790, America's debt was enormous, having depleted the country's money and supplies during its victorious fight for independence before the nation's greatest asset, the land west of the Ohio River, could be sold. It had to be measured out and mapped. Measuring America tells the fascinating story of how we ultimately gained the American customary system, the last traditional system in the world of how one man's surveying chained indelibly imprinted its dimensions on the land and on our culture from coast to coast. So, looked interesting. I got this at a thrift store, Cadillac Desert, the American West and Its Disappearing Water by Marc Reisner. Yeah, that's a major thing that we always hear in the news, that water in the West is disappearing, and one day there will be no water. And I don't know what Los Angeles is going to do. Southern California, you know, think of all the food that's grown in Southern California, all the population when the water disappears. Cadillac Desert. The War Lovers, Roosevelt, Lodge, Hearst, and the Rush to Empire, 1898, to Evan Thomas. I had this already in hardback, but I didn't know it. So this will go in the box in my car to go for in-store credit at Blue Stockings Bookshop. This is a novel by Lloyd Jones, Mr. Pip, the winner of the Commonwealth Writers' Prize for Best Book, finalist for the Man Booker Prize. It has a bookmark in here. So I bought this. Yeah, it was winner of the Commonwealth Writers' Prize for overall best book. the best book, Southeast Asia and South Pacific region, winner of the Montana Medal for Fiction, finalist for the Man Booker Prize. Then I picked this novel up, Stephen Herman's War and Turpentine. I think this is a translation of something, I'm not sure. Translated from the Dutch by David McKay. War and Turpentine, winner of the Netherlands 2014 Eco Prize for Literature. This is a novel by a Nigerian activist, playwright, poet. His name, I can't pronounce his name. There's a picture of him. And it's called, Wole, I can't pronounce it. Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People on Earth, a novel, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. And it says here in the flap, the first black winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature gives us a tour de force, his first novel in nearly half a century, savagely satirical, gleefully irreverent, rollicking fictional meditation on how power and greed can corrupt the soul of a nation. And so that's a picture of him. So I picked that up. And this is a Penguin. I collect Penguin classics, and I didn't have this one. Karl van Clausewitz on War. Edited with an introduction by Antolia Rapport. I can't pronounce it. So I didn't have this in my Penguin Classics collection on War. And then this is called Smuck by Tom Franklin. It's a novel. It's Southern Gothic writing. It says here, quoting the a rollicking, gory tale of Southern fried gangslingers, outlaws, a pleasure to read, full of flavor and worth chewing over for a long while. I collect Southern Gothic, Southern writers, especially in this genre. I have two other books by Tom Franklin. So yeah, this is kind of it's a picture of the writer. Yeah, I have other books by him. Hell at the Breach, and then his short story collection, Poacher's Stories. See? So yeah, these are the used books. Yeah, like I said, I haven't been leaving the house much due to the weather, the time of year. Just feeling kind of just hunkering down and withdrawing from the world. I don't really like the world, as I mentioned. To me, like I said, it's a wasteland, and I don't feel comfortable out there. Why am I out there wandering around looking for used books? Yeah, I have this book. I collect books on Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, FDR, in that time period. That's why I had this. Mine is in hardback. This is a paperback. Yeah, I collect on American history, Measuring America. I do collect some books on the Vietnam conflict, Secret of a War Against Hanoi. I do collect books on Tibetan Buddhism because its connection with the 1960s and the hippies and the beatniks. I do collect City Lights books, and this is poetry. I haven't looked at this closely yet, but I do plan to. It's bilingual. One side is Italian and one side is English. Yeah, I have a huge collection on the 60s, books on 1968, which was a pivotal year, an important year in America, especially in the late part of the 20th century. Collect books on Andrew Jackson. I collect books on certain presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, George Washington, Lincoln, FDR, Theodore Roosevelt, people like that. The Long Road to Antietam, a book on the American Civil War. Do collect books on the Civil Rights Movement. The Shadow of Youth, Remarkable Journey of the Civil Rights Generation by Andrew B. Lewis. I collect novels. We're running out of water in the West, the American West. I collect the writings of Tim O'Brien. Yeah, he's famous for his novel, The Things They Carried, was a finalist for both the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Critics Award. So I'll sign off. It's going on 26 minutes. This is a new week, coming to the end of this month, going into January 2025. Yeah, and I'm just, I don't know if I'll go back out looking for thrift store books until the weather's really nice. I got books coming in the mail tomorrow, but they're books on Lutheran mysticism. So I'll sign off. Thank you for the new subscribers. Do pray you're all doing well. Thank you for the comments. I haven't responded to comments yet, but I will. I promise I'll get to them. Hope I don't break my promises. So yeah, I hope you're having, like I said, I'm not really into Christmas. I'm not into all that. It's just not into it. But I do pray that you know the meaning of Christmas, that you can stand and marvel at the incarnation of Christ, the Son of God, who came to this world and took upon himself human nature, that he might go to the cross and bear our sins and usher in the eternal kingdom of glory. There is an eschatological dimension to the death of Christ. He did conquer the devil. He conquered the world. He conquered death. This morning we finished reading the Gospel of Matthew. And the Gospel of Matthew, it says, go on all into it has that great commission there in Matthew about going into all the world and proclaiming the teachings of Christ. So anyway, I'm rambling. This is 28 minutes. I better hurry up before this thing shuts down. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for the comments. And until next time, bye.